Welcome to the August edition of From the Ground Up. I'm Matt Jezyk from Motif, and this is our monthly time to get together and talk about things that we're working on at Motif as a company and as a product, and also talk about current things that are happening in the industry with architects and engineers. And we're really excited to have great content today. I'm joined today by my illustrious colleague and compatriot, Lilli Smith. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, Lilli Smith. I am a product manager here at Motif. I have a background as an architect in a previous life, but I really love thinking about how we um, can rethink designing buildings. Throughout my career, I've worked on creating new software tools for architects and designers. I've had the great fortune of collaborating with Matt on many of those tools. So we worked together in the early days of Revit. We went over to Autodesk together, worked on improving Revit, worked on some Revit spin-offs, focused on energy analysis, went on to Formit and Dynamo. And now, a couple years later, here together again, working on Motif. So it's really great to be working with you again, Matt, and excited to see what we can accomplish with this great team we have.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think it is something that we've heard a lot about, like as Motif as a company, as we've been growing, more and more of the sentiment outside is like, wow, you guys are hiring some amazing people. You're literally getting the band back together, which is a good thing or a bad thing. Like sometimes like the reunion tours are not as good as the first time around, but often, I think they are, especially with some of the newer people we have that we're also adding to the mix. So the combination of older ideas or sort of seasoned professionals with new approaches and new technologies and always learning, I think is awesome. And just if you're new to the pod, one of the things that we are focusing on on Motif is building a next generation platform for design for architects and engineers. So we are a relatively young company, about 2 years old. And if you haven't been following, take a look at some of the things that we have on our LinkedIn channel or YouTube. And certainly our website itself, motif.io, for more information and background. So we are pretty excited about this. So we launched our product, Lilli, what was it, back in end of March, I think is when we came out with the first version of it, right?
Yep, yep.
And
Beginning of March.
yeah, and it's been a kind of a journey since then. So we've had early adopter customers since even before we launched the product, and they've stuck around and worked with the product more. And we've been iterating with those people and also new customers on how should we advance the platform and the product. So yeah, if you can go forward one slide. I think it's just amazing to look back, like especially as we hit the end of summer, like almost September. It's been kind of a whirlwind, right? Like, so April, May, June, July, like we're getting out these monthly releases, which is pretty cool. And it's all based on collaboration with customers, with our users, and feedback from the market. So we're trying to be very responsive, agile, and listen, number one, to people. So I think that's pretty cool. And props to Lilli and a lot of the mostly the front end development team that we have, but clearly our whole company is focused on this. So just it's kind of fun to look back. So yeah, so we launched the product. We came out with the web application and the plugins, and then as things hit the market, you see what things don't work or do work, and we've expanded capabilities. So adding color, adding linked model support, adding more ways to share and get people in to this new collaborative environment are all things that we have constantly iterated on. And then obviously things like transparency, measurement tools, all those kinds of things. The AI rendering, if you guys were around last month, we had a blockbuster month in July. So another colleague of ours, Tatiana, did some great work with her team working on how do we not just add some AI tools, but how do we make them deeply integrated into the customer experience and the product? And specifically, how do we take things that might be possible if you string together five different ways to connect open source plugins together, all this other stuff? How do you just make it dead simple to do? And the specific thing that we added here that we're showing is I want to just create a new visualization. I want to create a rendering from my 3D scene, which is a really great concept where you can just start by saying render from image. And it'll generate these three options for you based on some preset prompts, or you can enter your own prompt. But the good thing is you don't have to stand up your own technology here. You don't have to play around with all these different open source models. It just works, and it will create great imagery for you without setting up a whole render pipeline, without having to deal with materials or colors or geometry as much. And the cool thing about it too is that it won't change your building. Like it actually maintains the geometry that you have, doesn't hallucinate more windows or more floors in your building, maintains that, but will let you get that level of control over the feeling and over the ambiance and the just like the perception of that, the image that you're trying to create or the emotion you're trying to generate from the imagery. And you can do it in a way that's very iterative, right? So because you're on this infinite canvas, this board, you can do a generation of options and then select one of them and say, take that one and take it further. I want to explore more there. I think it's pretty amazing to see. So I just love this feature. It's pretty cool, and it's gotten a lot of really great reviews from our internal from our early adopter customers and our people that are out there today. And I would encourage you guys to look at it if you haven't. So that's pretty fun. Um, yeah, you can just see some of the concepts there. Yeah, the other things that we've been hearing about from people is we need a way to navigate the model quickly. So one thing we have is in our web application, we have a big 3D scene, right? So whatever Revit or Rhino models or any other geometry you bring in, you can throw it all into one big 3D scene, but how do you get to the right spot and look around and kind of have a little bit more control? So we took a spin or took a page from the way that the gaming industry works and other visualization tools use, which is basically keyboard shortcuts like WASD to quickly navigate through the scene while you're using your mouse to point, and then you're using these other keys to kind of advance and move your position through the scene. So it's try it out. It's pretty fluid, and we think it actually helps you get to the right spot in order to collaborate more effectively inside the model. So that's pretty cool. The other thing is like in a collaborative setting with an application like Motif, you should be able to share. You should be able to share with anybody you want. Like bring in your external consultants, your clients, your owner, your roommate from sophomore year in college, whoever you want, just bring them into the system, and it should be inclusive and like let people see the ideas that you've been working on. And that's what we've been able to do here. So we have this thing called guest access now, where you don't have to worry as much about restrictions or policies or adding people to an organization. Just share there. And we still do hold on to. We keep security and sort of privacy in mind with all of our projects. So we have ways to lock down the system even more if you don't want to share. And of course, all those things are able to be looked at later on in the organization, like who has access to the system. So with that, that's kind of a brief spin through some of the highlights that we've been working on. But yeah, Lilli, what's next? What is coming this month?
Yeah, so August has been a pretty big month. We've been looking for ways to, we've to use this data that you've brought in and your models that you brought in and make design reviews richer. So, you can look at screenshots, you can look at models, but how can you really like get inside these designs? And so one way to do that was by making even just like making materials and glass be able to see through the glass. Was when we first started, our models were all gray and the glass was solid and you couldn't see inside it. So the videos we just showed, you can now see inside the windows. um, and fly mode helped to be able to look around your model better, navigate their model. But we wanted to go a step further and also provide section tools, being able to cut the model. Sections are critical tools for architects, of course, to understand space. I'll show you more live the section tool today, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. So we've been working on sectioning. We've also been working on a grid. We also have a we have units in Motif, so we can now lock our grid to a certain size, or you can resize the grid as you zoom in and out, and it's helpful to get a sense of scale and understanding your design. Um, We've also been really focused on performance. We have a lot of performance enhancements that are in the works that are coming. But we also realized that we could get a pretty big performance bump by just being able to control whether edges were on and off, because it's a lot more stuff to draw off edges are on. So we have a toggle now to turn edges on and off. We've been working on some organizational controls for all the assets that come along with loaded models, which we'll show you in a minute. And then um, have also been working on extensibility. So we have ways that you can run Motif with Dynamo and Grasshopper now. And all of this is available on we have a site where we list all of these updates every month. It's at docs.motif.io and product updates. And you can see these are all the August releases. We also have a way to save images now. All those great renderings that you make, you can save them out. And I'll show you some of these things as we're going. Oh, we also have Revit 2026 support now. If people are moving on to Revit 2026, we support Revit 2023 through 6 now. We're working on a scene browser, which is really exciting.
I was gonna say, you're kind of like that wasn't even in the list. Like there's stuff in here that is pretty amazing. Like
This is
and
very new. Yes.
baked fresh daily, like literally just coming in hot. So
It's like hard to make these lists because we update them so fast. Um,
I just want to
but
stop you right here because, we've been like Motif as a company, like we've been kind of told, like, you guys are humble. Like, we're never proud but never satisfied, is what Amar says. Like, this is an amazing list. Like, there's a lot of stuff in here that it might not be as big as like the AI rendering, but from a functionality standpoint and just from a raw usability of the tool, these are pretty amazing improvements that you've been working on.
yeah, it's pretty exciting. So let's jump into looking at section tools in a little bit more detail. Um, okay, so this is Motif, and this is our what we've just released today. Um, so I have a model here that is a condo building. This is a bunch of condos. Also has some rendering over to the side, but we'll focus on the model for a minute. And if I want to see inside this building, I now can use these sketch planes that we have, and they have a new property that allows you to clip things. So these are these we call them the primary work planes, which are just X, Y, Y, Z, X, Z. And so we can choose one of those primary planes, or we can also choose a plane off of any face of the model to clip by, which is kind of interesting. But let's just start with one of these primary planes. So I've picked this plane here, and I can turn it on that it will clip the model. I can flip the direction for which way it's clipping. And I can also adjust this plane here. So this is useful if I want to see stuff like, let's look into this space and see, I have a roof here in this model that is angled. And maybe I look in and say, understanding this building, and I look in and I say, oh, these walls, are not going all the way to the top here. Maybe there's some opportunities here for creating more storage space. And I can actually come in and I can start to, you know, circle this, make a note here, and say, let's check this out and see if we can maybe use this space. I can make a comment here and say, let's check into leveraging this space for storage. Um, uh, Many people's first question is, can you have two section cuts at one time? And yes, we can. So we can actually, and I'll show you now, we can pick off of this model. So any of these, you see this little blue box that I'm getting, I could cut off of any plane, any of the geometry that's in this model. So I'll pick this floor here and I'll say that this is also something that's going to clip. And then I can raise this up and start to understand these layouts, maybe how they connect to the circulation, how they're, kind of what's adjacent to what, and I can get back, and then I can continually manipulate these to keep cutting and keep understanding how this building is connecting.
This is pretty
Um,
quickly. So there's a couple
yeah.
questions coming in about sections and clipping. So number one, the first question is, what about solid clipping with poche? Seems like I'm just seeing the mesh interiors is one of the questions.
Yes, that is a good question. And that is something that we are still working on. So we're working on this notion of being able to, right now you can kind of see through where we're cutting here, and there's no section like filling in poche as you would probably expect to see. We're working on that. We want to get these tools out and get people giving us feedback on them. That's kind of why we're putting it out without the poche, but that is something that the capping is something that we're definitely working on.
And that's pretty common. Like even back when we did the stuff in Revit, like we had the section box for a couple of releases didn't actually make a section, didn't cut and didn't make a right the resurface on the box. And the same thing with other tools. Like it's very common to in 3D computer graphics to clip things. So that's why it's called clipping versus sectioning, is like you're just turning off the stuff you can't see, turn off the triangles that are outside of this space just to be able to see inside of it. Like the literal initial use case is like I want to see inside my building, like get rid of the floors, get rid of the roof. I just want to see inside so I can start marking it up. So that's what we're trying to get to. Making it beautiful and really good graphics is definitely something we know how to do, and we're working on. Absolutely. Um, One of the other questions there, just while we're on it, is are cameras saved with sketches? I guess that's a little bit, if not, we'll get very confusing about what they're commenting on. So that's a little like so in Motif, like there's you're in a thing called a board, which is like the infinite canvas, and you have objects in that scene, right? So you have your 3D models, you got 2D stuff like images or markup objects. Those all exist in the scene, in the board. And then the views that we have are literally just like cameras that you can switch between like a keyframe animation, but it doesn't really change the state of like what objects are visible or not. So if you're marking up on one side of the building and I'm marking up on the other side, all those markups exist in all of your views because they all live on the same board. I think that is the question.
Yeah, and if the question was about like if I made this comment, does it save a view? It doesn't, but I can hit V and save a view to kind of go back and highlight that this issue is like something that I want to look at in terms of leveraging this space for storage.
That's totally
Um,
cool. Yeah, that's exactly.
Also, an important thing to mention about these planes, right, are that our sectioning right now is that it will not persist right now. So if I refresh this is a temporary thing for my exploration. And if I refresh right now, these section planes are actually going to go away. We are working on being able to persist those in the back end, making them work with multiplayer. And that is something that is still coming.
Awesome. And some of the questions that are coming in, like we'll probably hit when we talk about the scene browser a little bit more too. But yeah, let's just keep on
Yeah.
going.
We could jump over and talk about Scene Browser now if you want. So this is another model that I was going to show some sectioning in. But also I have, in this model, I have placed this is our new Scene Browser, which is very exciting, showing everything that is in this scene here. We
And
have,
I'm going to interrupt you for a second. So can you refresh my memory? What is the difference between an asset browser and a scene gallery or scene browser? Like what are the differences there? They're both lists of stuff, but why are there two different things?
yeah, that's a good question. It's kind of the lingo of Motif and kind of the lingo of Figma coming into this a little bit. We're very inspired by Figma. The way that we have defined this in Motif is assets are things that can be used in any board in the project. And so when you place, and right now, if you bring in a model, so this is a model called Mid-Century Tower, and this is an asset that I could place on any board in the project. Images also are automatically right now promoted to assets. And so once you place them on one board, they're available for any board in the project that you can place them on. They're also, if you bring in sheets from Revit, those show up as images and those can be placed on any board. The scene browser is talking about instances that are placed in the scene on this board that you're looking at. So this is going to cover more things here, like all my freehand sketches are going to show up. Any text that I've drawn here is going to show up. And you'll notice this blurple color, a mixture between purple and blue, we call it. This is indicating things that are assets. And then these things are things that are just kind of objects.
Maybe can you just draw like a freehand thing like in space somewhere and see it show up in the list?
Yeah, so we'll draw something down here, um, just this freehand sketch. And
So there it is, right at the
this
top of the
is
stack.
showing up here. It's showing that it's highlighted here and I can turn it on and off
So
there.
it looks like there is some symmetry between like the thing that you have selected in the graphic scene also shows up in the scene browser. Is that also the other case? Like if I select something in the scene in the tree, does it select in the canvas?
Uh, it should, yes. So I can
Ah.
select the model there and you can see that this is turned into a selected state. It's showing me this gizmo.
So, but I see this like innocuous little icon on the bottom. Like what is that thing? What was that like when you selected that thing in the browser or in the tree? What is that little looks like an eyeball? What's that thing about?
This is, you can turn it on and off. So we're also going to add a lock here, which is something that a lot of people have requested to be able to like bring a model in and not let people move it. Um, but yeah, this will turn it off and
What?
on,
That's crazy.
which is pretty cool. I also have, you'll see this little thing up here is turned off. I can turn on this. This is a big sheet that somebody's brought in and actually placed in on this floor.
The right.
Um, so I can pair this with sectioning, and if I want to just select this, I can select from the actual plane of this sheet and start clipping there
No way.
so
What?
that I can then like just start to understand, okay, what is, I can start to see this together. Now, it's not automatic yet. Like this isn't coming in and placing itself at the right spot yet, but we do have the information to do that. We just have to put it together. But it's pretty nice for being able to understand, what's going on in this building and kind of meshing like 2D and 3D information together. Um, so I can
I
turn
think that is a
on.
really cool concept, like just combining the two, like the 2D and the 3D together. I mean, certainly other applications have done that, but like it's amazing to me to think about the number of people that don't quite understand how a drawing set goes together and what the literal sheets of paper are meant to do to describe this 3D design, like this building. Um,
Yeah,
so like combining these things together in like a real-time interface on the web feels like a good direction to go in.
yeah. And we do have the ability to, like I mentioned, we do have units, and so we can do kind of basic measuring where we can see kind of we don't have great snapping yet to snap to this data yet, so you can kind of just do like estimation measuring right now, but it's we that is in the works as well.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So other questions?
Yeah, so and this probably ties back to the scene browser a little bit too. So can I hide specific elements or is it just the section to show and hide elements? So it sounds like we just answered that one. Is that
So you'll notice that this model here is um one big thing right now. And there are, like, if you go to assets, you'll see that there's all of these things, all of these families, you may recognize them from this model, are being brought in automatically. Um, and you could like go and you could place one of these um, one of these beds as kind of a separate asset. Um, Not sure why that's not showing up, but you can place
okay,
these assets, all of this furniture and stuff that's in this building. Here you can see the chairs there. Um, Uh, and we are going to have soon in the scene browser the ability to see into your models and select things and see their properties. Like you can see over here on the right, all the properties. You'll be able to, through the scene browser, be able to select things in a model and tell a lot more information about those things that are in the model.
cool. Okay, so this is and there's a bunch of like this is a pretty chatty group that's in here right now, but let's just kind of keep on going. We can pick up some of these other questions a little bit later.
Yeah. Okay. What would you like to see next?
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that I think it came in like pretty like the cool thing is like we have these teams that are constantly iterating. Let's go back to that list, yeah, for a second. So like, I mean, the computational design stuff is pretty cool. Like, I think that deserves its own separate webcast altogether. The fact that we basically have like two new plugins that we're announcing now. So instead of just Rhino and Revit and the web application itself, like you can connect to Motif from Grasshopper, which is a very popular way to drive Rhino, and then Dynamo, which is again another very popular way to drive Revit. So you could use that to interrogate the model or ask Motif questions like how many comments are there, how many frames, how many views, or start to create stuff like lay out a whole building design or a presentation computationally, which is pretty cool, and then connect to different other. The cool thing about these things, like you can use that logic to connect to other things, like you might have an energy analysis solution or something else that's happening that runs that you want to push some information back into Motif, which is pretty cool. So let's that's like a whole stick a pin in that
Yeah, this
one.
is a big topic.
And then, obviously Lily and I worked on a lot of these tools in our past lives. So near and dear to our hearts. So let's if people are interested in that, number one, those are available on their respective package managers. So McNeil has a package manager that's part of Grasshopper called Yak that you can find the Motif at. We'll do some more stuff around food for Rhino and publishing things there soon. And then Dynamo also has its own package manager. So if you just type in Motif in those, you can download these things. And if you don't have access to Motif because you haven't used it yet, but you're interested, you can always go to our website, motif.io, and there's a big link at the top that says get in touch. So we definitely operators are standing by. Like we love to talk to people, and if you're interested in using these tools, we're happy to collaborate with you and get you into the application. So with that, yeah, like so I think I mean the performance stuff, like maybe we can talk about that for a second. Like I don't know if we have a big model showing here, but one of the things that we've seen people do is and this happens in Revit and other tools too, is that people are going to model until it hurts, is what we used to call it, like where they're just going to keep on throwing more and more geometry at this. The interesting thing about the companies that we're working with as early adopters is they're like, cool, we're going to do a pilot project that's like an island. And like, well, that's like geometrically large and also dense with like different buildings. So the tricky thing that we're trying to do is like get um performance that is better than a desktop application but we're doing it in a web application in a browser. So that shouldn't matter to end users at all. It shouldn't matter to architects and engineers that are trying to get their job done, but there are heavy engineering challenges that we're working on. One of which is performance and performance of loading the boards, like loading these scenes in this big project, which might have, five, six, seven, 12 buildings in them that are all individual Revit files. And then also drawing that stuff as fast as possible. So the graphic display and interactive performance are definitely things that we sweat the details on that stuff, so you guys don't have to. And if you see things that are slow, let us know. And one of the things that we saw is, we had people that were building big buildings and using Motif, big campuses, and they're like, hey, this graphics performance is getting to be an issue. So we fix that. We sped it up. And there's a series of things that we're doing there. The first of which, as Lily mentioned, is we simply allow people to turn off the edges, the edge display, which has a dramatic effect on performance. And there's other things that you see when you start focusing really smart engineers on these problems. So we'll continue to work on those things. And the goal there is that it shouldn't matter. It should just work. It should just be like, yeah, I can load this thing on my iPad or load it on my browser and I can spin this model around. And the goal that we have is it should be faster to open up these things in Motif than it is in your normal desktop software. So,
Yeah, and definitely more to come there. We are working on it
yeah.
um, to make it better and better. But this is what it looks like with edges off. You can see if you watch these trees, um, after we kind of added color, it made it so that edges were a lot more, oops, a lot less critical. Um, but
Yeah, and a small model like this, you won't really see a difference, but if you're building like a skyscraper or a whole city, like it definitely makes a difference. So let's see. So looking at the time, so we've got about 7, 10 minutes left. Just we can answer some of the questions. We can happily show some more stuff live. Let's see. So just scanning through the stuff.
yeah, I mean, we talked about this a little bit already, but just what's coming, what's up for next month. We're working, as we mentioned, on section capping. We are working on more details in the scene browser for being able to get inside those models, turn off categories of stuff, being able to see individual properties, um, continuing to work on our navigational controls, um, uh, continuing to work on, we haven't even talked about frames in this webinar at all, but we do have a presentation module where you can create presentations. We're continuing to make that better and better. And then, as we mentioned, we're working on performance.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good one to dig into in a whole separate session is just like the presentation capabilities. Like there's this idea of like I'm going to bring all this stuff together on a board and look at different options, review things, mark them up. So it's a very like expansive, like what if we did this kind of thing. But then the other side of that workflow is like, what are we going to show the client? Like, what are we going to show the customer? How do we show a refined, presentation? Like people are always presenting. Like you could be presenting to your peers on like a Friday pinup. You could be presenting to your boss. You could be presenting to the principal at your company or the client or the owner or other people. Like you're always trying to convince people about the ideas that you have, right? So how can Motif be used as that presentation vehicle? And how could that kind of easily fall out of the design process is kind of the challenges that we've been giving the team. And that's what Lily's showing right now. So what are these things called frames? Like what are they and how can you use them?
Frames are collectors. I think people are um, used to this concept. If you're a Figma user or you're a Miro user, you can make a frame, you could draw. I think you can make a frame. You can draw a frame there, and you can start to um, put stuff in it. You could copy this image and place this image. You move this image from this frame to this frame. And when you put this in it, it'll all move around together. Um, and then the frames have their own gallery here where it will help you to navigate. Got some problems with things showing upside down right now, but we're working
That's how
on.
you know it's live, and that's how you know we're working in a 3D scene. Because sometimes things go upside down. Yeah. Uh, yeah, this is awesome. So like the basic idea is like a frame, if you're coming from Revit, is like a sheet, or like in AutoCAD terms, it would be like a title block in paper space. But you can drop in live views, you can drop in images, text, line work, that kind of stuff. We do hear people saying like I want to start creating my own templates. I want to start making sure they're the right size. Like so that's all things that are coming. But the fundamental concept is very much like a container. Like it's like I want to be able to uh, present something and it should be live. The information is live from the source, like from Motif, like always up to date. Or if you're bringing in things from Revit or Rhino, like that could be a view or a viewport that you're dropping in live there too. Um, the other stuff, yeah, like you're doing right now. Like one of the questions that I got asked actually last week when I was in New York was like, "Hey, when can we change the color of things?" And we're like, "Yeah, you can already change the color of things. Like how did you just change that from the default orange, which we like that orange, to a different color?"
Yeah, so there's a couple ways. I mean, text has a control right here that you can change the color of stuff. Also, the properties panel over here is your friend. It will not only give you color information where you can change the color here, um, you can also change let's see, let's send that to the back. You can also change the size if you wanted this to be exactly 105 feet. You can change it there in the properties.
Cool.
And you can also change the line weight of this to be, thicker, or if I just want this to be a really thin line, I can make that thin too. I guess I made it so thin that I can't see it anymore.
Yeah, that seems like a graphics artifact. Okay, so we're coming up on time. I want to answer a few more questions here. So let's see. Oh yeah, what happened to the dynamic grid? Like, where is that?
Ah, I just turned off grid.
Okay.
So the grid is there. And yeah, we can talk about dynamic grid. So you can see over here, um, it's showing me an actual size of the grid. And as I zoom out, that's going to change. So now it's at 240 feet. Watch this number right here. If I zoom in, it's going to
Maybe can you try it in a 3D scene? It's a little.
change back. Yeah. So let's look there. So now it's changing 16 feet. And if I wanted to stay at 16 feet, I can hit this lock here, and this will keep it at 16 feet. So if I just have an understanding of I want to see the grid stay at 16 feet, can lock it to stay that way. See,
Cool.
my colleague Jeffrey is in here too.
Yeah, so Jeffrey's in the model. That's the fun question that came in. Like, hey, why is now we're talking about units and scale. Like, why is your frame as big as the building? Like why is it like can you talk a little bit about I guess big stuff and little stuff? It seems like we have something that you would present that is like bigger than a billboard, I guess. Like that frame that you just drew is like almost like a
Yeah,
land.
why is it 105 feet?
Yeah. What's up with that? Like,
Um,
what is our thought about that?
so our thought about that is, well, we don't have a notion right now of a separation of paper space and model space. It's just kind of all model space. So we are going to need some kind of notion of that or scaling eventually. But right now we're just, having this notion of units is very important, obviously, for doing design review. And we kind of have it just that you can do 2D things. You could make a separate board for 2D things if you didn't want to see them together. Um, and as I mentioned, the assets kind of work across the whole project. So you could go and you could make, um, I don't know, in this project, I have a sheets review board that I've set up.
Yeah,
Um,
let's just look at that. Like, I mean, I think that we've seen this is how we've been working internally, and we've seen people kind of think about things this way too. So boards can be contextual. Like, I might have like a workflow that I want to support. Like, I just want to mark up my drawing set from Revit now, and that's what we're loading. You can have a board for that. Or this is the review session that we did last Friday for the entry. So you make a board for that, and then you stream a model into that and start marking up on top of it. So these things can be very like workflow specific or like a moment in time almost is what we've seen people do. Like, hey, this is going to be our 80% check set that goes out. Like, what are the changes we have to make for that? And that's all encapsulated in a board. And then you can make a new board and you can make a different one.
yeah.
We kind
Or
of
you can put another version of it right below. And so you can
Yeah,
compare.
and that's kind of like we used to say we're not your mama. Like we support the base platform. How you want to use that is really up to you. Like whether you want to put it all in one big board, that's fine. If you want to make separate ones, that's great too. But we're going to keep things consistent and up to date based on how you use it. So yeah, that's kind of
And we
our
do have a way to lock this to 2D ortho so that when you open this, it will go to
Yeah, I
the
really
board.
like that. I mean, one of the things that we've heard a lot is like, you know, there are other tools out there and, not to bash on any other tool, but like, if you're used to using a different 2D infinite canvas tool, that experience of coming into something like Motif should be similar to that. And that's how you would do that. Like if you don't want to deal with the third dimension, you don't have to. Just lock it in top-down plan view. That basically gives you a 2D experience. So that's pretty cool. Um, in the interest of time, we're gonna keep on banging out some stuff. So yeah, dynamic grid, we talked about 64-foot wide boards. Questions about sheets and image quality. So these sheets are basically from Revit. They are the live sheets from and views from Revit. They do go through a rasterization process, like we make an image out of it right now. There's no reason why we can't make that vector and be more crisp. We just haven't done it yet. But the key thing is that they're not dead static exports. They remember that they came from this thing, and if you mark up something or add comments to it, it'll go back to that source. So that's kind of cool. So stay tuned there. And also the same thing like on we've heard that for the AI rendering, like the AI rendering tools create some amazing images. And the hot tip is that you can export those. And usually the image that is created by our process is very high resolution. It's like a 4K image. We're not showing all of that live in the Motif view, but if you export one of those right now, you will get something that's like basically print quality. Like, yeah, you had a different one around somewhere. Yeah. I don't know if it was on in this project or a different one, but remember that you had like the couple presentation images. I think it was in the condo project. Um,
I think I just opened this.
oh, okay. but yeah, I mean, try it yourself. Like, an exercise for the reader at home is like try and save out an image from the AI rendering, and you'll be pretty amazed at like the level of detail. Like I've seen like literally down to the individual tree leaves and people and things like that on these. It's pretty cool. So a couple other things just coming up on time. We're actually a little bit over. Will frames be able to be applied layout guides in the background, like grids and columns, just like Figma has it? So it's slightly hard parsing of English, but from what it sounds like is like how do I have some way that like some assistance or affordances to lay out things on a sheet or on a frame easily. So frames have their own coordinate system, kind of like the grid itself in the board. And if you start sketching on it, like it should snap relative to the frame. We didn't do anything more advanced like Figma has yet, like that gives you like an assistance like to put images or sheet or views like exactly in a grid, but they do snap to each other like right now. So like if you did place images next to each other, you'll see snapping if you have it turned on to the corners and edges and centers of things. Yeah, maybe we should show that real quick. Yeah, so like if architects are pretty fussy about laying things out. Like I used to spend ungodly amounts of Saturday mornings, like not just marking up red lines, but like literally making sure that views and details were laid out correctly in AutoCAD and in Revit. So yeah, so like and let's see if this works. Kind of put Lily on the spot here. So
I think our snapping on frames is broken right now, but um, you can see like these things will should snap to each other. Yeah, so getting an alignment there. And we can distribute these things.
yeah, so definitely we hear you on that stuff. Like lining things up is important, and making it so that it just naturally does the right thing is where we're trying to get to. The cool thing here is like we're building a platform that isn't just going to be about markup stuff. It's going to be about design and building things in real life, which requires a different level of accuracy than kind of PowerPoint, for example. So yeah, more on that later, but like fundamentally, like the the graphics and geometry that we're dealing with will be a lot more precise and have a level of control that you would expect from like a CAD tool. So let's see. It seems like we've got a good amount of questions. Like I see about 17 questions. This is a pretty chatty group. One other top level one, how do I switch between metric and imperial? So this kind of ties back to Lily, your units question. So how would I do that for this?
Right. So we have it at the project level right now. So if you want to switch the project, you can go back and switch it here. And then you can also control what you see in terms of each of these length area and the angle. If you want to see that in inches or feet or fractional feet.
So yeah, that's good. We answered this one already. So our sheet imports raster or vector. So they are currently raster. They will be vector in the future. And then another one related to sheets is, hey, how can I send my markups like in this thing that you're in right now, once it loads? So like that elevation view that you've marked up, like how do I send that back to my designer back in Revit, for example?
Yeah, probably the best way right now is to send them a link to Motif. But so we don't send the markups back right now, but we do send comments.
Mhm.
So if you were to make a comment here, this comment would know to go back to whatever sheet it is on in Revit if you were connected.
Cool. Let's see. A couple other ones here. Yeah, some of these are actually fairly conceptual in nature. So, yeah, the layout guides we already answered. So scenes are placed assets, and views are also assets, but views also get their own sidebar, and then the views go on frames, and frames go on boards, and all this exists in a canvas. So, like, I think this is more like a terminology question. more than anything else. It is confusing. I mean, these systems do get complicated, but it's not really that hard. So like we have a project, top level thing that in Motif is a project. Then you have boards, and boards are where you lay out stuff right now. And then you have assets, and assets are the stuff that you care about that is related to the project. Those could be PDF files, could be images, could be SVGs, could be 3D stuff. It doesn't really matter. It's just your stuff. Like, and then you can compose your stuff on boards. So you can draw things on a board, and those are just like markup lines and whatever. You can instantiate things like taking a building and putting it on a board that makes the 3D geometry show up. Or you can instantiate an image. Like you can just drop in an image. Like here's my Enscape rendering from before. I want to drop it on this board. Those live on a board. That's what the scene, it's a little confusing the term scene versus board, but they're kind of the same topic. They're just like the things you can see at one point in time, the active document. Like if you were in AutoCAD, it'd be like the DWG that you had open. It's kind of the same way to think about it. And then the last concept is this idea of a frame, and frames live on boards, and actually views as well. So views and frames are ways that you can take a particular vantage point of a building, like say make a view and save that, and then place it on a frame to make a presentation. So all those things are they're technically living on the board because they're related to the geometry that shows in that board. But after you've made those, you can use them elsewhere in different parts of your project, so on a different board. So it's a little confusing, not as confusing as setting up AutoCAD or Rhino or Revit or something else like that. So we're trying to make it as simple as possible. But if you have ideas for how to make it simpler, we're all ears, and we're definitely here to listen to those things. Lily, did I miss anything there?
I think you did a good job of explaining it. I think, yeah, it is, it's really a platform that we're making and creating, a lot of terms that some people are familiar with from other softwares, but it does take some getting used to.
Yeah, and that's a trick is like we're trying to combine concepts from these other infinite canvas tools, and maybe some of them are commonly used in this domain or not. So, definitely help us if things don't make sense. Just a few other things, and we're trying to wrap, and we're actually a little bit over, but let's see. Oh yeah, display modes. So are there perhaps different display modes beyond turning on and off edges, such as monochrome in Rhino, or that would help the model run faster and or look better, present in a simpler manner rather than displaying all colors and all materials. Like so in Revit, there's like wireframe, hidden line, shaded with edges. In Rhino, they have these awesome display modes that let you look at the model in more sophisticated ways. Other web applications have similar ways to do that. But what are our thoughts about both for performance, but also for just generating kind of better presentation level graphics? Like, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, we don't have too many modes yet. We have the ability to turn on ambient occlusion, and we also have uh, the ability to turn on or and off color of the 3D model. Um, but that's kind of as far as we've gotten so far. We do have in on our roadmap the ability to make a bunch of different like sketchy style um, or shaded or kind of more textures, that kind of thing.
And shadows and lights are kind of another topic in that space. So like
Mhm.
definitely be on the lookout. Like we a lot of us have this experience from former lives. I think I've built like two or three different graphics pipelines like on in desktop and web that like it all comes back to like making things graphically pop. How do you make it compelling? How do you make really good presentations that fall directly out of the model without having to like export stuff to Illustrator and punch up line weights and stuff like that. So we definitely hear you on that stuff. And the cool thing is like there are ways to make that really look good and also be fast at the same time. So we're working on that. Uh, and shadows definitely fall into that category. Let's see. So we answered that one. This one, sketching on a curved surface, we can't do that. You can sketch on work planes right now. Um, can I hide specific objects or just section to show? I think, yeah, we answered that one. Let's see. Um, Oh yeah, this is kind of a fun one. Probably a good thing to end with and stay tuned. So these two relate to the scope of your uh changes. Like, so if Lily, if you added a section in your so this is a multi-user collaborative system, like we can be in the same project like right now. Like our colleague Jeff McGrew was just in this project before too. If, we're working in a system that is real time and every update happens, what happens when you add a section? What happens when you turn off the floors? What happens when you modify your scene? And how does that affect other people?
Yeah, so if I right now it is single user. So I just made a section here to try to understand how this was sitting on this site. But if I open this duplicate tab here to kind of, I can see my other self here. You can see that it's not cut there. And that's just because we're not sending that information to our backend yet, so it's not participating in multi-user yet. But we understand that that is very important. That we want to, we want this to be um, a multi-user experience that you could have if you wanted somebody else to see your section cut. That's really important, right? And that's part of why we're building this collaboration app. But we want to do it in a thoughtful way that maybe we can have certain views where there is a section cut that is controllable in a certain way, that you understand that that view is about a section cut, and I can share that with you. And then you can have other views which are not cut, so that if you wanted to be working in the same board where I was, but you didn't want to see your model cut, you could just be in a different view. So kind of similar to how Revit views are, like certain Revit views are about section cuts, other um, other views are not about section cuts. That is the way that we're thinking about this. So
Yeah,
stay tuned for that.
definitely stay tuned. And if you're an active Motif user or want to be, if you have thoughts or ideas about how views should work and how to not end up with 500 section views in your model like you do in Revit all the time, we're all ears. So reach out, get in touch with us, because this is another part of our process that we didn't actually spend a whole lot of time on right now, is just the collaborative design and development process that we follow. It's not just us coming up with stuff on our own. Like, we're actively working with people in the industry all around the world every single day. And we need your input. We need your advice on how to do this stuff and what you want to see in these tools, because we are listening and we're actively using that input to change the direction of the product and to get you what you need. So reach out. We'd love to have that conversation. And with that, we are dramatically over time now. There's a lot more questions to answer. Thank you for attending this webcast, and thanks, Lily. I mean, I just have to say, it's just been amazing working with you all like all these years. Like, I have to say it, but we're kind of old now. Like, we kind of been around the block a little bit.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Present company excluded, of course. So it's been a journey through the years, and thanks for coming along for the ride in this new iteration and Motif. And I really look forward to what you and the rest of the team are going to come up with next. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Stay in touch.
All right.